The unvaccinated get warned of a winter of illness and death. In a article and a statement from the White House that sounds mysteriously like the scary guy from the action movie trailers. So we'll talk just a bit about what happened there and what that means. In other news, in the midst of horrible messaging, the Bidens welcome in a new puppy. Aren't you excited? Let's see. Fentanyl becomes the leading cause of death in the United States, so we'll talk just a bit about what's going on over with that. And Quidditch Association changes the name of their sport because, well, they now can't stand J.K. Rowling. It is going to be all this and more. Let's go, Brandon. I'm Jay Edgar, and this is Contemporary. Good morning, Edheads. Welcome to Contemporary. My name is Jay Edgar, and we have got, well, it's not going to be as big of a show as some of the last ones we've done. We'll probably get through almost everything that we have on the stack today. It's a fairly light news day today here, but the stuff that we have here is there, and I say that we're getting through all the stuff, and we never do. I mean, this is turning into the Daily Ignoramus over here. Yeah, we are getting nothing done today over here. But we'll see what we can get through off of this. There's a bunch of stuff. The topics are heavy, of course. I have a couple of fun ones to start off with after we get done with finance. But the top topics are pretty heavy here. So we got to get ourselves right into it. A couple things off of this. As always, we are doing the Christmas lo-fi music, which, let me get the link into the live chat for you guys. Let me get the live chat up for you guys so I can see what you guys are doing. Make sure you're not killing each other over there. We'll continue to do the Christmas music, obviously, through the rest of Christmas. I mean, it's only the rest of the week here. Whether I wind up staying here and this is going to wind up being for finance, or if I do take the trip that I am planning on taking after Christmas, there will still be Contemporary. It may be abbreviated, but I'll still be doing it from the road from my laptop. So don't you guys worry about that. That'll still be here. We'll still be checking that out. So definitely come and join for that. And just a little bit of a fun note off of this too. I found a new playlist here that I think we're going to use. At least it'll drop into the rotation. It's Star Wars Lo-Fi. Another nice, calm, quiet, calming bit of music to sit behind and basically be elevated background music here so you can hear it. But I really like the playlist. I found it last night. Looks like there's a new player out there in the music channels out there that's trying to cut his teeth and make his name. Closed on Sundays is the name of it. The Star Wars one sounded really good. It looks like there's an Animal Crossing one as well, but I don't play Animal Crossing, so I don't know anything about that or the music that goes with that. So, well, I can't really help you guys out with that one, but that'll be added to the rotation. I think looks like it is free and clear for copyright. Not that I really give a fuck, because on Twitch they have lowered standards, and on YouTube, well, I'm not monetized over there. And in fact, I turn monetization off. So what's it going to bother me if I get a, whoa, you can't monetize this video? What's that going to bother me? But we'll go ahead. We'll run that. We'll do that as well. But let's go ahead and get into the news. But before we get started, go over and check out turnsofpagesproductions.com. I gotta reach out to Bobby Joe and see if she'll kick the timer and get that started back up again. We will, of course, also be raising a new fundraiser, getting ready to go with that. We will be going with Give, Send, Go. I was supposed to do that yesterday. That was on me. I spent the majority of my afternoon trying to find something for the 3-year-old who has everything. The other two, it was very easy for the nephew and the niece there. I got good ideas, I knew what they were into, and I could go pretty much walk up to what I wanted to get for them. But the 3-year-old who has everything, that's going to be the fun one. But, I got a couple days yet to do the last minute shopping part of this, so definitely go and do that. If you guys want to help out with anything there, the links will be in the chat throughout the day for the financial ways to do so. Subscribe star, buy me a coffee, PayPal. You can get us on all of those. If you want to send a gift over to Elaine, as long as she is presumably still working with me, her links will stay in here. So Christmas time is coming, and if you guys want to help out your favorite creators, go and help that out. And also go check out Turns of Pages Productions, where you can find great shows such as The Daily Ignoramus, The Breakdown with Birkenhoff, The R-Rated Conservative, The Freckles and Brit Show, and The Porch Boys. Go check out all those programs. Great friends to Liberty, great friends to independent media, and great people to get your news from, and your culture from as well. So go and check that out. All right, looking in at the finance. Now, after the lengthy introduction here, the Dow spent another day pretty much in the shitter, dropping now down below 35,000 to 34,932.16. That is 1.23% sell-off. The futures look like they are turning back higher, but the Omicron variant is still weighing on people's minds, and we'll see what happens with that and where that goes. But yeah, that's another significant drop. In the time also where it's looking like we're starting to see holiday pay start to go into effect, factories are shutting down, not because they're going bad and the industry is going bad, it's just because, well, the union workers want to go home and spend time with their families. And families should come first, absolutely. So, it's hard to say where this is going to go as we go into. I think, realistically, through the rest of the year, we're probably going to see the Dow stick around the 35,000 range, realistically. But there again, this is not official financial advice, nor am I a financial analyst. This could go either way. Shoot up or shoot back down. We'll see what happens, and we'll continue to follow this throughout the week as we go along. On your Bitcoin, which will trade through the holidays. Let's get a refresh on this one. The Bitcoin took a nice turn upward overnight, up $1,787 and 20 US cents to 48,713 US dollars and 20 US cents. I'm willing to bet that we're going to start seeing maybe some Bitcoin gifts instead of like the check in the card or anything. We'll probably see some of that going into people's wallets. And when people are getting their Christmas money from their aunt or whatever, I'm sure that they're going to go buy a little Bitcoin too. Especially given the fact that it's the safe one that Soccer Mom America would like. So I could see that this one actually moving up a little bit more as the year closes out here. Definitely not the 400,000 that Elaine predicted it was going to be, but also not the 100,000 that I predicted it could be. On your industrials, looking in at your scrap metal prices, all of your coppers are up. Copper on the average is up, steel is down, aluminum is up on the average. All of your copper plays are up, where there is green all the way across the board when it comes to copper. BX steel, conduit steel is down. Or I'm sorry, that's up. Brass shells are down, I'm sorry. Wow. I maybe actually need to read what I'm doing here before I get into it, because not all your copper plays are up. Brass shells for ammunition, those are down. BX steel is up. Light iron is down. Number one steel is down. Cast iron is up. Rotors are up, which are cast iron. Complete car is down. Shreddable steel is down. Stainless steel is down. Aluminum siding is down, but the aluminum copper fin radiators are up. It still blows my mind that, is it just the aluminum copper radiators that are holding this up? Because the average per pound on aluminum is up, but everything on the individual aluminum plays I see is down right now. Except for aluminum copper fin radiators. Moving in at your other plays, motors are down, ballasts are down, lead is down, batteries are up, catalytic converters are up, including if you go and get a little catalytic converter from underneath a Toyota Prius and lose your life as a result. That poor guy. Compressors are down, alternators are down, carbide is up, hard drives are down, motherboards are down, and power supplies are up. So that's what we see coming off of that. Let's see what IBD has to say. I had to archive both of my investment news stories this morning because both of them gave me the, well, you're using AdBlock, you can't use that. So we will read from Insider, archived of course, and Market Insider. We'll read from IBD first, archived, and Insider, of course, archived. On Investors Business Daily, Dow Jones Futures jump. Is the stock market rally over? What to do now? This is from Scott Latonin. Dow Jones Futures jumped 325 points early Tuesday after the stock market sell-off worsened on Monday as the Dow Jones Industrial Average dove 433 points. Tesla stock skidded further from its all-time highs, while stock market leaders AMD and Nvidia are at key support levels. Dow Jones retailer Nike and Micron Technology reported earnings after the close. Maybe I should have a little bit of this wonderful golden energy drink so I stop tripping over my goddamn words here. Brain fuel. On Monday, the Dow Jones Industrial Average declined 1.2%. The S&P 500 dropped 1.1%, while the Nasdaq sold off 1.2%. The small cap Russell 2000 tumbled 1.6%. Among the Dow Jones leaders, Apple dropped 0.8% on Monday, while Microsoft was down 1.2% in today's stock market. Home Depot is trying to find support at a key level, while Nike reported earnings after the close on Monday. Electric vehicle leader Tesla traded down 3.5%. Monday, its rival Rivian dived nearly 8%. Lucid Group declined over 5%. And Chinese EV leaders Li Auto and XPeng Motors also posted sharp losses on Monday. NIO traded down over 6% after introducing a new model at its NIO Day event on Saturday. Yeah, there aren't going to be a lot of people right now that are buying cars, especially, well, you might see a few electric cars show up here, but for the most part, that season is over and has been over since probably about the second week of December. A couple here, if the car dies in the middle of the holiday season, that's going to be one of the few ones where people will go out and pick up a car, but I mean, other than that, the holiday advertisement from Lexus that you see every year, where the rich wife with a jacket that costs more than the car comes outside and sees a great big bow tie on the front of her Lexus. Yeah, that doesn't happen in middle class America. Occasionally, a 16-year-old daughter will get one for Christmas, sitting outside. But for the most part, that doesn't really happen around middle class America. For the most part, once Christmas gift buying season comes up, especially in the winter too. I mean, I am the exception to the rule, I will say that, because I bought my last two trucks on January 13th, 3 years apart. 2 years apart. No, 3. It was 3, because it was 2017 and then 2020. And their model years, ironically enough, were also 3 years apart too. And both of those times were on an impulse buy on top of everything else. I did not go in there expecting, because it was after the holiday season. But that's also one thing to point out with the car market. If you're going to go buy from the dealer, do it right after Christmas. And I'm going to tell you why. As I just mentioned, for the vast majority of us out there in the country, buying a car during Christmas season is not a reality. So come that second week of January, when a lot of these guys haven't had a commission payment for 6 weeks, they're ready to make a deal. Even if it's not a good deal on them, they're ready to make a deal because they need that commission payment. And you'll probably walk away with a little bit less. Both of my trucks that I bought from a dealership were marked over $17,000. I walked away with both of them for $16,500. So that's a little tip to go on there. Not official financial advice, of course, but that's definitely one to look into off of that. All right. What else do we have here? Among today's Monday's top stocks to buy and watch, Arista Networks, Ryan Specialty, AMD, and NVIDIA are in or near buy zones. Keep in mind that investors should be cautious with new purchases amid the recent stock market volatility. Microsoft and Tesla are IBD leaderboard stocks. Arista was featured in this week's Stocks Near a Buy Zone column, while Ryan Specialty was last week's featured IPO leader. On the futures, ahead of the stock market open Tuesday, Dow Jones futures rose 0.9% versus fair value, while S&P 500 futures gained 1%. NASDAQ 100 futures rallied 1.2%. Remember that trading in Dow futures and elsewhere doesn't necessarily translate into actual trading in the next regular stock market session. Among exchange-traded funds, Innovator IBD 50 moved down 1.4% Monday, closing at its lowest level since July 19th. NASDAQ 100 tracker Invesco QQQ Trust dropped 1.1%, and the SPDR S&P 500 ETF also descended 1.1%. So some stuff that's moving, some stuff that's going here. But for the most part, I think this is going to be pretty well steady through the rest of the year. Note, this is not official financial advice. Let's grab one from Insider, and then let's get into the main news of the day. It's so weird that we can actually clearly see the tabs at the top of the screen. It's so weird. We haven't been able to do that for a while. From Insider, U.S. futures rebound after stock market sell-off, but Omicron risks remain. From Harry Robertson. U.S. stock futures climbed Tuesday, pointing to a comeback from a 3-day losing streak for equities, with uncertainty about the Omicron variant driving volatility in the market. S&P 500 futures were up 0.63% in European trading. Dow futures were 0.61% higher, and NASDAQ futures rose 0.75%. Asian stocks rallied overnight, and European indices rose in early trading. The Omicron coronavirus variant is rapid spread, has driven some big swings in global stocks as investors wait for more information about its likely impact on government policy. The S&P 500 fell for 3 straight sessions from Thursday to Monday as the variant spread across the U.S. and European governments imposed new restrictions. Joe Manchin's move to all but kill President Biden's roughly $2 trillion Build Back Better spending plan also worried investors. Yet investors have found some cause for hope, including that vaccine booster shots appear to be broadly effective, honk honk, at preventing serious illness. Moderna said Monday that booster produced strong antibody response. Later Tuesday, Biden is expected to announce measures to combat the Omicron threat. The U.S. president also spoke to Manchin, a Democratic senator, whose vote is crucial in the Senate, but the Build Back Better plan sparking hopes that some sort of compromise could be reached. Overnight in Asia, China's CSI 300 closed 0.68% higher, with markets cheered by Beijing's moves to support the property market. Tokyo's Nikkei 225 climbed 2.08%. In Europe, the continent-wide Stock 600 rose 0.8% in early going Tuesday, while the UK's FTSE 100 was up 0.88%. So the world is starting to look into some of this, and part of that is because not everybody in the world celebrates Christmas. I do think the majority of them have a winter holiday that has to do with the solstice. I don't think it's always Christmas, so we'll see what happens. We'll see where that goes. We might be spending the entire next week looking at Asian stocks and European stocks, but we've got to get into the big news of the day. And before we do that, even before we get into unvaccinated illness and death, we're going to start today with a couple segments of, pushback against the government. Starting with this one here from the Daily Wire. Times Square pedestrians yell, "Fuck Joe Biden" during live Fox News broadcast. From Tim Meads. Ouch, President Biden is so unpopular that he can't even get any love in New York City. On Monday afternoon, a man and a woman said the explicit version of "Let's Go Brandon" in the middle of a Fox News live broadcast. The colorful salute to the president came as Fox News' correspondent David Lee Miller was giving an update on Broadway's decision to shut down in the wake of rising pinko fucking pox cases. Let's listen.
Drop is expected to...
I said let's listen, not let's watch. So many mouth words.
As of now, the ball drop is expected to take place as scheduled, but that is under review. The mayor has said that he is going to meet with Times Square officials and look at the possibility of either canceling or modifying that celebration if the statistics do call for it. Sandra.
For so many of us who've reported there in Times Square through the years, a real rock star to make it through the hit with the distractions that are happening out there. A lot of folks, still a lot of tourists are coming back to the city regardless.
Times Square.
Indeed. Good job. David Lee Miller, thank you.
As of now, the ball drop is expected to take place as scheduled, but that is under review. The mayor has said that he is going to meet with Times Square officials and look at the possibility of either canceling or modifying that celebration. Is expected to take place as scheduled, but that is under review. The mayor has said that he is going to meet with Times Square officials and look at the possibility.
Oh, that's funny. on cable TV in the middle of a live broadcast. That's amazing, by the way. That is amazing. That is absolutely amazing. I can't believe the producers don't like block this stuff off when they do that too. I mean, dude is just literally standing, it looks like in the middle of a crosswalk. In the middle of the street, people just walking past him. Fuck Joe Biden. Fuck Joe Biden. Speaking of that sentiment here, let's grab one from CBS quick. NASCAR driver Brandon Brown addresses anti-Biden Let's Go Brandon chants. This is from Christopher Brito. NASCAR driver Brandon Brown found himself inadvertently thrust into the national spotlight after many conservatives adopted the phrase "Let's go Brandon" as a thinly veiled insult to President Biden. But the 28-year-old driver addressed the meme in an op-ed in Newsweek published Monday, saying he understands why so many people are frustrated with the government, even though he has no interest in leading some political fight. Nobody still knows to this day who you are, Brandon Brown. Brown acknowledged the phrase's popularity while noting it didn't equate to support for him as a driver. He wrote that he's fully aware that many who use the expression know little to nothing about him. What did I just say? Brown also admitted that while he prefers to say apolitical, he understands the sentiment behind the expression. I understand that millions of people are struggling right now and are frustrated, Brown wrote, struggling to get by, struggling to build a solid life for themselves and their families, and wondering why their government only seems to make it worse. Pro tip. That's the express purpose of government, is to make it worse. That's all that they do. People have a right to frustration, even anger. The origins of the phrase trace back to a post-race interview Brown gave last October at the Talladega Superspeedway in Alabama after its first ever NASCAR win. Brown was being interviewed by an NBC Sports reporter, during which time the crowd behind him was chanting something that was at first difficult to make out. No, it wasn't. No, we all knew what it was. And I love CBS coming out here trying to make this into oh no, it was hard to make out. It was an honest mistake. But by the time it was clear the crowd was saying fuck Joe Biden, the "Let's Go Brandon" phrase subsequently became code. I'm sorry, I missed a sentence there. The reporter suggested they were chanting "Let's go Brandon," but by then it was clear the crowd was saying "Fuck Joe Biden." The "Let's go Brandon" phrase subsequently became code for the vulgar insult towards the president, mainly used by Republicans. Yes, the top-level rapper who spent weeks at the top of the Apple charts is such a MAGA Republican. He so much is. In fact, I would not be surprised to find out that he just did that for the money. Honestly, but still. In the op-ed, Brown said he initially received advice to stay quiet, and he declined to do interviews over fears of how sponsors would react. He gave similar answer during a recent interview with the New York Times, a former newspaper, as well. The whole Talladega race win was supposed to be a celebration, and then it was supposed to be something that I was able to use to move up. I really wanted to capitalize on that, Brown told the Times. But with this meme going viral, it was more of, I had to stay more silent because everyone wanted to go onto the political side, and I'm about the racing side. Yeah, I do feel a little bit bad because this is a guy who got thrust into the middle of this, and, you know, as I said, and as the CBS reporter said, nobody knew who this guy was before that day. And unfortunately, the only reason he's famous right now is because of that meme. That's pretty much it. That's all that he has at this point. Because of that meme. The only reason that anybody knows his name at all is because of the political standing. I mean, he's famous and, you know, bruh, I'm just trying to be famous. But I'm still going to use it. And that's still going to be the top tagline of the show. And I will contend, by the way, that I was the first one to use that as a regular tagline. I will contend to that. The contemporary faithful are here. They know that. Quest Fanning, you were one of the first ones to point it back out. As soon as that interview aired, the next day, that was my tagline. And it replaced the, hey, do you trust the plan yet? Although we are probably going to have a new meme coming up here pretty soon. All right. Speaking of Let's Go and Brandon, let's see what the White House had to say. Starting from the official whitehouse.gov webpage, press briefing by White House COVID response team and public health officials. 11:06 a.m. Eastern Time via teleconference. Mr. Zients, good morning and thank you for joining us. Today, Dr. Walensky will give an overview of the state of the pandemic and on new practices that will help keep schools open, and Fauci will provide an update on the latest science and importance of boosters. But before we start, I want to talk about how we should think about this moment. As we've explained in prior briefings, the Omicron variant is more transmissible, and our medical experts anticipate it will lead to a rise in cases. But unlike last winter, we now have the power to protect ourselves. Our vaccines work against Omicron, especially for people who get booster shots when they're eligible. If you're vaccinated, you could test positive, but if you do get COVID, your case will likely be asymptomatic or mild. We are intent in not letting Omicron disrupt work and school for the vaccinated. You've done the right thing, and we will get through this. Hold on, I gotta put my action movie announcer voice on for this one. For the unvaccinated, you're looking at a winter of severe illness and death for yourselves and your families and the hospitals you may soon overwhelm. Oh, there went my headphones. Are you threatening me? White House, are you threatening me? I need to put my audio. We are not intent on letting Omicron. Oh, I did that one already. So our message to every American is clear. There's action you can take to protect yourselves and your family. Wear a mask in public indoor settings. Get vaccinated, get your kids vaccinated, and get a booster shot when you're eligible. We are prepared to confront this new challenge. We have plenty of vaccines and booster shots available at convenient locations and for no cost. Boy, I would still love to see that invoice that went over to the US government from Pfizer and Moderna and Johnson & Johnson. There is clear guidance on masking to help slow the spread. And we have emergency medical teams to respond to surges as necessary. So, this is not a moment to panic because we know how to protect people and we have the tools to do it. But we need the American people to do their part to protect themselves and their children and their communities. The more people get vaccinated, the less severe this Omicron outbreak will be. You sure about that? 160,000 unvaccinated people have already needlessly lost their lives just since June. And this number will continue to go up until the unvaccinated take action. So I'll say it once more. Get vaccinated. That's the White House's statement. So there's a lot of stuff to go into this. Now, first and foremost, when you saw the screenshots, they pretty much go from here to here. Which is, that's fair for them to do. That is absolutely fair to use as your screenshot off of this, because this is a terrible thing to hear from the White House. This is essentially the White House saying, you didn't do what we told you to, I hope you die. But we saw other screenshots in and of itself say, you have to tell the whole story. And they go on and they go down and include these two paragraphs. The problem is, these two paragraphs don't make it any better. In fact, they kind of make it worse. For the unvaccinated, you're looking for a winter of severe illness and death for yourselves and your families, and the hospitals you may soon overwhelm. So our message to every American is clear. Comply or die! There's action you can take to protect yourselves and your family. Wear a mask in public indoor settings, or die. Get vaccinated. Get your kids vaccinated, or die, and get the booster shot when you're eligible. Yeah, that's not better. I'm sorry. None of this is better, but just this paragraph here. For the unvaccinated, you're looking at a winter of severe illness and death for yourselves and your families, and the hospitals you may soon overwhelm. Who writes this shit? Like, seriously, who writes this shit? Moving on. Reading from ABC 7, Eyewitness News out of Los Angeles. Unvaccinated should expect winter of illness and death ahead of projected COVID surge, according to the White House. They go on to tell us that about 40% of the country is unvaccinated. The White House's chief coordinator for the U.S. coronavirus response has a strong warning for unvaccinated Americans ahead of projected surge in cases over the next few weeks. If you're vaccinated, we've done the right thing and we'll get through this, the White House COVID coordinator Jeff Zients said. For the unvaccinated, you're looking at a winter of severe illness and death for yourselves, your families, and the hospitals you may soon overwhelm. I can't get over the fact that that paragraph got past the editing room and said, no, sure, put that in your speech. Yeah, no, that won't go wrong for you. In a briefing with reporters on Friday, Zients and the White House COVID-19 Task Force, which includes Centers for Disease Control and Prevention Director Rochelle Walensky and Chief Medical Advisor St. Anthony of Fauci, patron saint of medicine, highlighted the importance of initial vaccines, which offer stronger protection against severe illness, but strongly emphasized the need for fully vaccinated Americans to go out and get their boosters. Cha-ching! Which offer the best protection against the new Omicron variant. The optimum protection is fully vaccinated plus a boost, Fauci said. So the bottom line of what we're telling you all along is critical to get vaccinated. If you're vaccinated, it's critical for optimal protection to get boosted. Asked if the task force is considering recommending people get boosters earlier than 6 months after the final shot, the current standard, Fauci said, it's on the table. You still get protection, and that's reasonably good against hospitalizations with 2 shots. We want to make that better with the booster. Whether or not we're going to change the time interval between your last vaccination and your boost, we always have these on the table for discussion. But right now, there's not been a decision on that, Fauci said. Over 30% of fully vaccinated Americans have been boosted so far, and only about half of fully vaccinated seniors over the age of 65 have been boosted. Oh, what? But I heard that means that you're not fully vaccinated anymore. Oh no! The right way to think about the percent boosted is those eligible, and we've now boosted about 60 million Americans. That's about 40% of the eligible Americans. Importantly, of those over 65, we're now more than 60%, and that's important because they are the most vulnerable, Zients said. So that's the rest of the press conference that goes there. But and don't worry, I'll tell you what to think about this here, because if you attack Fauci, you're attacking the science. I am the science. What a fucking mook. All right, from Fox News, White House ripped for doomsday winter message of severe illness and death for unvaccinated people. From Brandon Gillespie. The White House was viciously mocked over the weekend after pushing the message that unvaccinated Americans would experience this winter of severe illness and death due to the Omicron variant of the coronavirus. President Biden, as well as White House COVID response coordinator Jeff Zients, each pushed the message last week, with the former issuing the stark and gloomy warning to Americans following a Thursday White House briefing on the pandemic. You know, maybe you should turn the cup the other way. Then you can see the happy face on it. I hope all of you watching here are having your morning coffee with me. President Biden, as well as the White House response coordinator, Jeff Zients, each pushed the message last week, with the former issuing a stark and gloomy warning to Americans, following a Thursday White House briefing on the pinko fucking pox. I want to send a direct message to the American people. Due to the steps that we've taken, Omicron has not yet spread as fast as it otherwise would have done, Biden said. Citation needed, please. I need to know how fast Omicron would have spread if there were no vaccinated people around the country. You can't back that up, Mr. President. But it's here now, and it's spreading, and it's going to increase. We're looking at a winter of severe illness, man. Come on, and death for the unvaccinated, for themselves, for the families that they'll soon overwhelm, he added. But there's good news. If you're vaccinated and you have your booster shot, I have it. My staffer that just tested positive, he has it too. And you're protected from severe illness and death. And my staffer that was on Air Force One, and he had that. Hey, you guys remember last week in 1966 when I had that tough Corvair? And Corn Pop came over. And he wrapped a chain around his fist and he punched my Corvair, man. Zients repeated the warning following day while giving an update from the COVID response team. We're intent on not letting Omicron disrupt work and school for the vaccinated. You've done the right thing. Here's your cookie. Here's your little pat on the fucking head. And we will get through this, he said. For the unvaccinated, you're looking at a winter of severe illness and death for yourselves, your families, and the hospitals you may soon overwhelm. Ooh, waterboard? I'm excited. I see waterboarding. Now I'm turned on. Critics took to social media to mock the White House's message of death, with some referring to Biden as the Grim Reaper. I think, didn't we get a Darth Vader president in the live chat here just a bit ago? Others declaring that Biden saying he was going to shut down the virus sounded a lot different than illness and death. Olivia Newsy tweets out, "Who is this for? Unvaccinated Americans are not going to be persuaded by messaging like this." George Papadopoulos, Grim Reaper in the White House, Biden warns the unvaccinated will experience a winter of severe illness and death. Joey Gilbert tweets out, "I'm going to shut down the virus and we're going to have a winter of severe illness and death are definitely not the same things, Brandon." Greg Price tweets out, "What a cheerful Christmas card from the Biden White House," and I'm going to paraphrase and add, "From the Biden White House to you." Quote tweeting Ben Domenech, who says, "We're all in this together unless you're in the out group, in which case you're gonna die." So that's some of the response off of that. And going on, reading from the Daily Wire on the same thing, Biden admin pushing stark shift in messaging as Biden fails to get the pandemic under control. Report. This is from Ryan Saavedra. Democrat President Joe Biden's admin is reportedly pushing the president to reset his messaging on the coronavirus pandemic after he has failed to get the pandemic under control, a key promise that he made on the campaign trail. Yeah, that really did seem sacrilegious for him to come back and say this. I will get the pandemic under control. Like, are you God? You're not, but I can see with the elevation that the office of the presidency has risen to, I can see why you might think that. The news comes as the Omicron variant of the virus, which appears to be far more infectious but potentially less severe than the previous variants, is set to surge through the US and the rest of the world. That's a CNN report. I was trying to figure out whose voice to do that in. The emergence of the Omicron variant has thrust the nation and the White House back into uncertain pandemic reality, posing both public health and political challenges for a leader whose ultimate success depends almost entirely on his ability to contain the virus. Well, he's fucked. CNN reported already cases and hospitalizations are surging in some parts of the country, leading to a 31% increase in cases and 20% increase in hospitalizations from 2 weeks ago. I think they're actually probably pissed at the inflation right now, and they're looking for some way to throw them under the bus. The report claimed that Biden and his team have all but ruled out new lockdowns, despite White House Principal Deputy Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre refusing to rule out lockdowns during a press conference last week. Well, that Constitution's about to get put to the test, you guys. Some of Biden's advisors are encouraging the administration to begin discussing publicly how to live alongside a virus that shows no signs of disappearing. Potentially stark shift in messaging for a White House that once touted freedom from the virus, the report added, steering public attention away from a total number of infections and towards serious cases only, as some Biden advisors have encouraged. Yeah, that's nice. You know, for 4 years we hear nothing but, it's the cases! Look at all the cases! Look at all these deaths! We have to shut it all down! You're gonna kill grandma if you want to be outside! 2. No, let's just focus on the severe cases. That's not even for 4 years. That was for 1 year. It's amazing how that one felt like 4 years. But yeah, just in that first year. You're asymptomatic. You want to go to a concert or something that isn't locked down, and they give you a cheek swab because the venue has said you have to test negative for it before you go. Look at the case! It's a case! Oh my God! The world's gonna end! I can make that happen, Arvold, but nobody wants to see that. Don't tempt me. I'm not governed by the FCC. But yeah, their messaging, they need to do something different here. First and foremost, they have to come back out. And here's the reality check. Joe Biden promised he had a secret plan to shut down the virus. Let's listen to this.
What I would say is I'm going to shut down the virus, not the country. I'm not going to shut down the country. I'm going to shut down the virus. I'm going to shut down the virus. I'm going to shut down the virus. I'll shut down the virus, not the economy. I'm going to shut down the virus. Once we shut down the virus, I'm going to shut down the virus. I'm going to shut down the virus. I'm not going to shut down the country, but I'm going to shut down the virus.
I love how they got that little dazed look on him on the last one. I'm going to shut down the virus. Where am I? I think my medicine's wearing off. But in before a bunch of leftoids over on Twitter tell you, he never said he was going to shut down the virus.
What I would say is I'm going to shut down the virus, not the country. I'm not going to shut down the country. I'm going to shut down the virus. I'm going to shut down the virus. I'm going to shut down the virus. I'll shut down the virus, not the economy. I'm going to shut down the virus. Once we shut down the virus, I'm going to shut down the virus. I'm going to shut down the virus. I'm not going to shut down the country, but I'm going to shut down the virus.
Well, good luck. All right. But in the midst of the messaging, we have to understand the most important part of the Biden White House right now. So, reading from The Hill, Biden's welcome new puppy, first feline coming in January. Oh, dogs have returned to the White House. From Morgan Chalfant. Biden tweeted a photo of the dog, which is named Commander and is a male purebred German Shepherd puppy, according to the First Lady spokesman Michael LaRosa. The puppy is less than 4 months old and was a gift from Biden's brother, James Biden, and sister-in-law, Sarah Biden, LaRosa said. The Bidens are dog lovers and came into the White House at the start of this year with 2 German Shepherds, Champ and Major. Champ died over the summer at the age of 13. What happened to Major? Both German Shepherds were spotted at the White House on occasion, but Major, the younger of the dogs, underwent additional training earlier this year for biting incidents involving White House staff. LaRosa said Monday that the Bidens have decided to let Major live with family, friends for the time being. After consulting with dog trainers, animal behaviorists, and veterinarians, the First Family has decided to follow the experts. They followed the science collective recommendation that would be safest for Major to live in a quieter environment with family and friends, LaRosa said. This is not in reaction to any new or specific incident. Okay. But rather a decision reached after several months of deliberation and as a family and discussions with experts. The Bidens are hardly the first to bring pets with them to the White House, though former President Trump and his wife Melania did not have any pets. Jill Biden said last year that they also plan to adopt a cat, though the first couple has not yet done so. LaRosa said Monday that the cat, who was identified as female, would join the First Family in January. Jill Biden told the New York Times, a former newspaper, that Major's biting issues were part of the reason the cat has been delayed. The cat is still being fostered with someone who loves the cat, Biden said. I don't even know whether I can get the cat back at this point. Das German Shepherd. Yes, we have failed on the economy. Inflation is rampant. The Omicron is here. It's spreading through this. We just had the big message of, if you don't get your vaccine, you're going to die and we're going to dance on your grave. Release the puppy! Alright, let's talk about some other messaging coming out of the White House. Let's talk about Joe Manchin. From the Blaze, Joe Manchin fires back after White House puts him on blast for sinking Build Back Bullshit bill. From Chris Pandolfo. Senator Manchin stood up for himself and his constituents Monday, responding to the White House, which put him on blast for saying he would not support President Biden's $1.75 trillion Build Back Bullshit bill. They figured, surely to God, that we can move one person. We surely can badger and beat up one person. Surely we can get enough protesters to make that person uncomfortable enough that they'll just say, okay, I'll vote for anything. The lawmaker told the local radio station, according to The Hill. Well, guess what? I'm from West Virginia. And I'm not from where they're from, and they can just beat the living crap out of people, and they think they'll be submissive, period. Manchin said. Manchin gave these remarks during a radio interview with West Virginia Metro News' Hoppy Kercheval, following his announcement Sunday that he will not vote for Biden's spending and climate agenda. The spending bill, which has passed the House earlier this year, was not supported by any Republican, and Democrats need yes votes from all 50 of the senators in their caucus to advance it. After Manchin said that he could not vote for the bill, citing his concerns over rising inflation and government debt, White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki, the red-haired bobblehead, released a blistering statement Sunday accusing the West Virginian of reversing his position and breaching commitments made to Biden. Senator Manchin, he promised to continue conversations in the days ahead. It does not look like he is going to circle back at this point and to work with us to reach that common ground. If comments from Fox and written statement indicate an end to that effort, they represent a sudden and inexplicable reversal in his position and a breach of his commitments to the president and the senator's colleagues in the House and Senate, the White House said. Responding to the White House statement, Manchin said, "I figured they would come back strong." Making a point not to criticize the president directly, Manchin explained that he was at wit's end after being willing to work and listen and try to reach a compromise he could support. He suggested White House staff had leaked negative information about him and that he had poisoned his efforts to reach a good faith compromise. They know the real reason what happened. It's staff-driven. I understand it's staff. It's not the president. This is staff, and they drove some things, and they put some things out that were absolutely inexcusable. They know what it is, Manchin said, without providing more detail. The Senate adjourned Saturday without Democrats meeting after the self-imposed Christmas deadline to vote on the Build Back Bullshit bill. Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer on Monday declared that Democrats will vote on the social spending package early next year, taking a thinly veiled shot at Manchin in a letter to Senate Democrats. The Senate will, in fact, consider the Build Back Better Act very early in the new year so that every member of this body has the opportunity to make their position known on the Senate floor, not just on television, Schumer wrote. But unless Democrats are willing to make concessions that Manchin has demanded, a vote on the $1.75 trillion spending bill today, tomorrow, next year, or anytime Democrats only have a 50-50 majority in the U.S. Senate will meet the same fate. Failure. I know that it's early. I know that I'm getting ahead of myself here. But I think we have a message for the Build Back Bullshit bill. Are you ready? Do we know what the message is around this channel. Maybe they'll get Murkowski on board. Maybe they'll get Collins on board. But yeah, I think this one's done. All right. So that's what we see from that. McConnell has held up his turtley gullet enough to talk here about this as well. McConnell ranted opposition to Biden plan, a great shot in the arm for the country. From Olaf O'Sheen. I'm not going to try and pronounce this guy's entire first name. I'm sorry. You're just Olaf from here on out. Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell said Senator Manchin's opposition to President Biden's social spending package is a great shot in the arm for the country. During an appearance on Fox News' The Guy Benson Show on Monday, McConnell said he was happy that Manchin declined to support the latest iteration of the framework, referring to comments he made last week just before the Senate left for the year. I said, the single biggest favor Joe Manchin could do for the country is to kill this bill, and that's what the country needs, McConnell said. And he was indeed smuggling coke at the time when he did that. It is absolutely inappropriate and unnecessary at a time when we're fighting inflation and we've already showered entirely too much money on the country, he said immediately after giving the Democrats the ability to shower more money on the country. Don't think I forgot about that, you turtle gullet fuck. Which helped create inflation with that Americans Rescue package earlier this year, which of course none of my members voted for, McConnell said. So it was an exciting thing to hear. Great shot in the arm for the country. I think it's exactly what this country needs at this particular time, McConnell added. No, this country needed you to put your fucking foot down and say no. If you want to raise the debt ceiling, use the budget reconciliation. I gave you 2 fucking months. That would have been a great shot in the arm to the country. When asked about what the Biden admin's response to Manchin's opposition, McConnell said he was shocked that the White House said Manchin went back on his word. In the time I've been a Republican leader, Yeah, that's not what anybody should consider you. I never get angry about losing a vote because, the most important vote is always the next vote. So I was shocked at the vitriol, and it basically seemed to me that they were calling Senator Manchin a liar. I think that was not smart, McConnell told Benson. This is a 50-50 Senate. It's going to be a 50-50 for another year. And believe me, that's not the way that I would have handled it, he added. Okay, that was the most unfortunate pause for Cory Booker, by the way. That was incredibly unfortunate for Cory Booker, and I didn't intend to do that. To pause that right at that moment. That's hilarious. That is hilarious. Can I get away with screen grabbing that? I wonder. No, I can't. I can't get away with screen grabbing that right now. Maybe. If I use this screen, I can. We're just going to save that for later. I think I'm going to title that What Cory Booker Wants You to Do to the Federal Government. From Fox News. Mitch McConnell says he'd welcome Manchin to the GOP if he was so inclined. From Lindsey Cornick. Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell revealed that he'd be open to West Virginia Senator Joe Manchin joining the Republican Party after several conflicts with his fellow Democrats. On Monday, McConnell appeared on the Guy Benson Show podcast to discuss Manchin's recent announcements that he would vote no on President Biden's Build Back Better plan in the Senate, effectively ending its chances of being passed. That's Benson. I would imagine that you got your Christmas got a little bit merrier yesterday around 9:30, 9 a.m. Eastern Time, when your Democratic colleague Joe Manchin of West Virginia appeared on Fox News Sunday with Bret Baier and announced that he's a no on the Build Back bullshit, Benson opened. Benson asked whether McConnell had an inkling of Manchin's vote. Prior to his announcement, McConnell admitted he didn't know how Manchin would vote, but called it the single greatest favor Manchin could give the country. Not an inkling, but I hoped. Ironically, in my wrap-up press conference at the end of the session last Thursday, I said the greatest favor Joe Manchin could give this country is to kill this bill. That's what the country needs. To see this bill killed. It was absolutely inappropriate and unnecessary at a time when we're fighting inflation, McConnell said. It was an exciting thing to hear, he added. It was a great shot in the arm for this country. I think it's exactly what this country needed at the particular time. And we read that quote already. He remarked that Manchin's status as a moderate put him at odds with his own party and added, I would certainly welcome Manchin to join the Republicans. He doesn't fit well over there, but this is a decision ultimately he has to make. We certainly can't welcome him to join us if he's so inclined, McConnell said. Benson then asked if the defeat of the Build Back Better plan could lead to a Republican majority in Congress in 2023. McConnell admitted that he's feeling more optimistic after the potential defeat. So, yeah, switch Manchin over to the other party, and he would probably still win in West Virginia. Plus, everything else that they would get back off of this. I don't know where the midterms are going to land Congress and the Senate. I actually don't. Now, with the financial aspect going into this, I do see that there is a potential for Republicans to take the House on a massive majority and the Senate on a filibuster-proof majority in 2022. But it all hinges on what the Supreme Court does with Roe versus Wade. Because that would be a very, very easy way to get Democrats energized and out in the streets screaming and crying and lashing out and gnashing of teeth. And doing whatever they can to vote to get the right to sacrifice their offspring. That is a real thing that could possibly happen. But we'll see what happens with that. John Cooper. Speaking of, and what I said earlier about Murkowski and Collins, John Cooper. This is your daily reminder that just two moderate GOP senators, Lisa Murkowski and Susan Collins, could both provide the votes needed to pass both the Freedom to Vote Act and the Build Back Better. Just two. Well, no, the Freedom to Vote Act would both be filibustered and it would go to the Supreme Court and get shot down because it's unconstitutional. And Build Back Better, well, I don't think they would vote for that either. They're pretty well lockstepped away from that at this point, which is good because it's bullshit. Bette Midler got in the action. Bette Midler, what hashtag Joe Manchin, who represents a population smaller than Brooklyn, has done to the rest of America, who wants to move forward, not backwards, like his state is horrible. He sold us out. He wants us all to be just like his state, West Virginia, poor, illiterate, and strung out. Conversations like this can be intense. Don't forget the human behind the screen. The Hodge twins got up there too. You suck as a person. She does. She really does. Eric Matheny says, the one thing that I appreciate about a tweet is its authenticity. It's speaking without thinking, pure lack of impulse control. Ever wonder how someone really feels about you? Read their tweets. This is the truest statement about how Hollywood elites feel about poor rural America. To which 30 Tyrants responds, even more telling that the tweet isn't even ratioed. That, of course, mostly says a lot about who uses Twitter. Well, I'm sure it was also botted to fucking death. Keep in mind. Let's actually look back and see where the ratio is. Well, I mean, it's getting close to ratioed. But there's still, I mean, if it does crack the ratio mark, then they're just going to bot it the fuck back out. In fact, actually, with the quote tweets, I think it is ratioed at this point. But, I mean, just going back off of this, yes, this is what your elites think of you. This is what they actually think about you. They think that you are poor, illiterate, and that you are looking to your politicians to save you rather than wanting to come back out and do it yourself. Poor, illiterate, and strung out if you're not in Bette Midler's ivory tower. And once again, never mind the other 50 senators who are voting against this. It's all on the one. It's the one senator who's holding this all up. All right. They've lost their fucking minds. Democrat strategists, lawmakers lash out at the Biden admin. From Ryan Saavedra once again. Democrats are lashing out at the Biden admin over its failure to pass its signature Build Back bullshit agenda. A partisan, leftist, trillion-dollar spending bill, and it's over its response to Senator Manchin saying over the weekend he could not support the legislation. One Democrat lawmaker who remained anonymous slammed the Biden admin on a statement to the Hill, saying no one is ever held accountable for their repeated disasters. And this is an indictment of the senior leadership of the White House. The worst part is nobody will be held accountable for this. They don't understand the American people want results. They don't want drama and rhetoric. The House Democrats said, everyone has been, if they're trying to mask the identity, I should probably go, everyone has been left high and dry. You can see everyone, vulnerable Democrats, fleeing for the hills at this point. It started with Afghanistan. No one was held accountable for the chaos that the Afghanistan withdrawal constituted. It allowed everyone to get a pass. It sent the message that the president will stick by you. So do whatever you want, the lawmaker added. I do think Biden needs to clean house. If we have any chance of salvaging 2022, there have to be consequences. That's the same voice that they use for Arthur Chase. But not the necrophiliac Arthur Chase. That's a different Arthur Chase. Democrat strategist responded to the White House press secretary Jen Psaki's statement in attacking Manchin by saying the White House, they've lost their fucking minds. Video? No video. Psaki said in a statement on Sunday, Manchin's comments this morning on Fox are at odds with discussions this week with the president, the White House staff, and his own public utterances. Weeks ago, Manchin committed to the president at his home in Wilmington to support the Build Back Better framework that the president has subsequently announced. Manchin pledged repeatedly to negotiate on finalizing that framework in good faith. On Tuesday this week, Manchin came to the White House and submitted to the president in person directly a written outline for the Build Back Bullshit bill that was the same size and scope as the president's framework and covered many of the same priorities. While that framework was missing key priorities, we believed it would lead to a compromise acceptable to all. Manchin promised to continue conversations in the day ahead and work with us to reach that common ground. If his comments on Fox and written statements indicate an end to that effort, they represent a sudden and inexplicable reversal in his position and a breach of his commitments to the president and the senator's colleagues in the House and Senate. Manchin claims that this change of position is related to inflation, but the think tank he often cites on Build Back Better, the Penn Wharton Budget Institute, issued a report less than 48 hours ago that noted that the Build Back Better Act will have virtually no impact on inflation in the short term, and in the long run, the policies it includes will ease inflationary pressures. Yeah, printing $2 trillion will not have any effect on inflation. Many leading economists, with whom Senator Manchin frequently consults, also support Build Back Better. Yeah, they're going to keep beating up on him, and he's not going to do shit. Which is good. Stand your ground. Absolutely. All right. We are off and away from executive branch politics. Let's look at some of the rest of the news we have for the day. From ABC 25, Connecting Central Texas, Abrams seeks national voting rights reform before 2022 race. I have no author given on this one. Stacey Abrams, who built her national reputation by advocating for voting rights, is calling on Congress to take action on federal voting rules as the Democrat launches a second bid to become Georgia's governor. I thought she already was. Senators include Georgia Democrat Raphael Warnock, Abrams' close ally, who have been arguing in recent days that the Senate must try on federal voting standards despite earlier setbacks. In an interview Thursday with the Associated Press, Abrams said senators need to override Republican opposition to new federal voting guarantees by weakening the legislation blocking filibuster to allow Democrats' bare majority to pass new rules. Otherwise, Abrams said, more Republican-dominated state legislatures nationwide will adopt voting restrictions like Georgia did this year. See, even if you change the way that the presidential election goes, you can't do that on a state level. This is against the Constitution. Starting in January, when legislators come back into session in 2022, we're going to see a maelstrom of voter suppression laws. I understand the resistance is completely dismantling the filibuster, but I do believe there's a way to restore the Senate to a working body so that things like defending democracy can actually take place. Abrams won narrowly to Republican Brian Kemp. That's what she says anyway, she actually lost. In 2018, after becoming the first black woman ever to become a major party's nominee for governor. She maintains that Kemp used his position as Secretary of State to unfairly tip the scales in his favor by doing things like purging voters from the rolls. Kemp denies the wrongdoing. Abrams' loss and her response, including forming a new voting group called Fair Fight, vaulted her to national prominence among Democrats. So, what is preventing these people from re-registering if they're off the voter rolls? That's an actual legitimate question that I have for this. And this comes from a state that has a perpetual battle every single election year about purging voter rolls. Every single one. And they have yet to do it, by the way, but every single voting year, they have another fight about purging voter rolls. And we have same-day registration in my state. If you get purged from the voting roll, you walk in with your driver's license, set it on the table wherever you live, wherever your address says you live, you set it on your precinct table and say, "Hello, Mr. Precinct Worker," or "Miss Precinct Worker, I would like to vote today. This is my address. This is where I live. I am not federally barred from voting. And even if you don't, even if you can't for whatever reason, you can still stand back, just like they tell you on Instagram every day. On an election year, you stand back from the table and loudly said, I would like a provisional ballot. I have the right to vote in this state. You must give me a provisional ballot. And make sure you make a scene when you do it, too, because that's what they tell you to do. This year, Republicans pushed through the new voting law in Georgia, which, among other things, cuts days for requesting an absentee ballot, shortens early voting before runoff elections, and limits drop boxes. Democrats fear it will chip away at their gathering strength in Georgia, where President Biden won the state's 16 electoral votes, and then Warnock and fellow Democrat John Ossoff won runoffs in January, delivering control of the U.S. Senate to their party. Honk honk. Republicans argue the law is fair to all and was necessary to restore confidence in the state's elections after claims of fraud by then-President Trump inflamed many GOP voters. Those claims have been debunked. I'm gonna debunk! And repeatedly rejected by the courts. Abrams insists she can still win election in Georgia next year, even if there are no changes to the law. And she actually might. Because I hear there's going to be a spoiler candidate coming up in this gubernatorial election. But we'll see what happens. Literally your mom tells us fentanyl killed more in 2020 than COVID did. Why aren't we talking about it? And reading on, once again, from ABC 25. CDC, fentanyl overdoses now the leading cause of death for Americans aged 18 to 45. From Alicia Naspreto. We're now almost 2 years into the pinko pox pandemic, but a new analysis shows there's a bigger killer in the US. According to the CDC, fentanyl overdoses have killed more people aged 18 to 45 since 2020 than COVID, car accidents, or even suicides. How old was Floyd? I think he falls outside of that demographic. Yeah, he is outside that demographic. He was 46 when he died. The fentanyl increase of death really started to rise quite abruptly in 2016 when he went up, and just went up and up until 2020 and 2021. We also expect to be really, really bad. Director of the National Institute on Drug Abuse, Dr. Nora Volkow, told 25 News. The country lost 37,208 people during 2020 and 41,587 people just this year between the ages of 18 and 45. Data from Families Against Fentanyl suggests that one person dies from an overdose every 8.5 minutes. And sometimes they blame a police officer's knee on somebody's neck. It's like we're loading an airplane full of college kids and crashing it every day. FAF founder James Ross said, "It's affected all class, all race. It started out as a white man's drug because it was affecting the heroin market. Now it's disproportionately affecting the black community. It's killing us, all of us. I don't see anyone that's immune to this." Well, I am, because I don't take the shit. The state of Texas is also not immune. Earlier this month, the Texas Department of Public Safety said its officers seized enough of the drug to equal more than 36 million lethal doses. People don't necessarily know about fentanyl, Dr. Volkow said. They actually don't realize how extraordinarily dangerous it is. There's a high chance the drugs you're buying may be contaminated. Street drugs, including heroin, cocaine, and even marijuana, have all been reported to have traces of fentanyl. Well, once again, coming to the point where I have the CDL and I'm not smoking a bunch of weed, especially not from people I don't know. But with CDL, it's zero at this point. Somebody's calling me and I don't know who it is. I'll leave a message. Experts say the stress of the pandemic has led more people to use these types of drugs, as well as the holidays, which can be hard for those struggling with addiction. Anxiety, grief, everything drives this, Ross said. That social pressure goes up and you start getting little cracks in society. This poison's prevalence will make itself known during these types of things. Well, if this is getting to be a problem, then we need to go back and look into it, but first we've got to stop talking about how many people the pandemic has killed. Alright, this one was left in the Discord by our friend Golden Leaf from Newsweek. Millions of angry, armed Americans stand ready to seize power if Trump loses in 2024. Let me guess. Are they standing down and standing by, Mr. President? This whole article just reeks of fucking propaganda. With a bunch of FBI informants trying to get people to come on and say, yes, fellow patriots, come on and join our cause. We will definitely win if we storm the White House this time. Come join our cause, fellow patriots. I am a fellow patriot just like you. Mike Wampus Niznani is a 73-year-old Vietnam vet who walks with a cane and combat wounds he received during his service. That disability doesn't keep Niznani from making a living selling custom motorcycle luggage rack from his home in Gainesville, Georgia. Neither will it slow him down when it's time to visit D.C., heavily armed and ready to do his part in overthrowing the U.S. government. Millions of fellow would-be insurrectionists will be there too, Niznani says, a ticking time bomb targeting the Capitol. There are lots of fully armed people wondering what's happening in this country, he says. Are we going to let Biden keep destroying it, or do we need to get rid of him? Boy, this sounds like this fucking glows in the dark, doesn't it? We're only going to take so much before we're fighting back. The 2024 election, he adds, may well be the trigger. Niznani is no loner. His political comments on the social media site Quora received 44,000 views in the first 2 weeks in November, and more than 4 million overall. He is one of the many rank-and-file Republicans who owns guns. Rank-and-file Republicans who owns guns and in recent months have talked openly about the need to take down, by force if necessary, a federal government they see as illegitimate, overreaching, and corrosive to the American freedom. This is glowing. Artist depiction of Niznani. That's the artist depiction, the glowing one. Jason Bright from Fallout New Vegas. The phenomenon goes well beyond the growth of militias, which have been a feature of American life at least since the Ku Klux Klan rose to power from the Democrats after the Civil War. Groups like the Pride Boys and the Oath Keepers, both of whom I think glow, which took part in the January 6th Selfie Fest, may have played organizational roles, have grown in membership. Law enforcement has long tracked and often infiltrated these groups. Let me read that for you again. Given what we just read from the rest of this, where this totally grassroots guy is saying, we need to go and breach the Capitol. Law enforcement has long tracked and often infiltrated these groups. Once again, what Niznani represents is something else entirely, a much larger and more diffuse movement of more or less ordinary people stoked by misinformation, knitted together by social media and well armed. In 2020, 17 million Americans brought 40 million guns. And in 2021, we're on track to add another 20 million. We got to get those numbers up, guys. Come on. We got to beat our 2020 numbers. Let's go. Buy a gun. I know a guy. I'll introduce him to you. Well, let me take that back. I'll only introduce him to you if you live in Wisconsin. Otherwise, he's got to send it out to your FFL dealer. If historical trends hold, the buyers will be overwhelmingly white, Republican, and Southern or rural. This whole thing glows. All right, and before we go into the Reason article that goes along with this, I want to remind you of the same thing that I said after we looked at the Justice for J6 rally. If you go and take the fight to Washington, D.C., because you were inspired by people like Ms. Naney or Newsweek to come out here and tell you this, or the Proud Boys tells you to go to this, you are taking your life into your own hands. And whatever happens to you, whether you sit in a prison cell for 6 months, awaiting a charge even, or a year, awaiting even just a charge, being abused, being forced to sleep in sewage, being disallowed access to your lawyer. If you participate in this knowing what's there, you have taken your life into your own hands. Let me remind you, this is a trap. If the government brings the fight to you, defend yourself. Do not bring the fight to the government. They are better at killing than you are. And this second time around, actually they probably will call the National Guard down so they can get more images of people storming the Capitol. Do not go. Let me make this point blank clear. And usually I tell you to go find all the facts and draw your own conclusions. Usually I don't sit in this chair and tell you, this is what you should do, this is what you shouldn't do. I'm not like that. I want you to come to your own conclusions. I want to present to you facts that either corroborate what you already know or get you out looking for ways to fact check me, and then come to your own conclusions. This is the one time I will sit in this chair and tell you, do not go. No matter what the Proud Boys say, no matter what a 73-year-old Vietnam vet, who will probably be 75 at the time, tells you, no matter what the Oath Keepers tell you, no matter what the Donald tells you up on TV, do not go. Do not be anywhere near DC for any sort of rally whatsoever. This is a trap. Again, this is a trap. And they're starting early this time. If you go to this, you have taken your life into your own hands. And must accept whatever consequence the government brings to you. And like I said, they are better at killing than you are. But a Canadian that came out of nowhere said so. Well, yes, I think that if you feel so strongly about your government and the injustices there, then you should definitely go down there. But you must clean your room before you go down to Washington, D.C. And with that, we have this Revolver article, not Reason, Revolver, I'm sorry. Revolver, which is not green check verified. But I thought this was worth at least noting what was going on here. Meet Ray Epps, Part 2. Damning new details emerge, exposing massive web of unindicted operators at the heart of January 6th. 6 weeks ago, Revolver published a blockbuster investigative report on Ray Epps, a man who, more than any other individual, appears to be the key to unlocking the questions of active federal involvement in the so-called Capitol Selfie Fest of January 6th. Out of all the thousands of January 6th protesters, the thousands of hours of publicly available footage from that fateful day, Ray Epps has turned out to be perhaps the only person nailed dead to rights confessing on camera to plotting a pre-planned attack on the Capitol. On both January 5th and January 6th, Epps announced multiple times at multiple locations his upcoming plot to breach the U.S. Capitol, which, by the way, I don't believe he ever actually went into. He sure told a lot of other people to do it, though. Epps announced multiple times at multiple locations his upcoming plot. He then spent hours attempting to recruit hundreds of others to join him on top of it all, Epps was seen leading key people and managing key aspects of the initial breach on the Capitol grounds.
Tomorrow, we need to go into the Capitol. Into the Capitol. What? No! Peacefully. Fed. Tomorrow, I don't even like to say it because I'll be arrested.
Well, let's not say it.
We need to go. I'll say it.
All right.
We need to go in.
Shut the fuck up, Boomer.
To the Capitol.
Base Fed posting? All right. We need to go into the Capitol. I didn't see that coming. Okay.
Monument Hill.
Stop speaking. We are going to the Capitol, where our problems are. It's that direction. Please spread the word. All right.
Noted.
Okay, but one more thing.
Yeah, so can we go up there? No?
When we go in.
Are we going to get arrested if we go?
You can trust me. Look at my crisp, clean, new Trump hat.
Up there? You don't need to get
Did you
shot.
arrest us all?
Which those are some also fairly clean MAGA caps, by the way. But there's Ray Epps. Everyone else is pushing out the fence, and there he is just kind of standing back and watching. It would be one thing if Epps' repeated calls on January 5th to go into the Capitol had simply amounted to bluster. But Epps followed through on his stated mission to shepherd others inside. In clips 4 to 6 of the above compilation, we see Epps actively orchestrate elements of the very first breach of the Capitol barricades at 12:50 p.m., while Trump still had 20 minutes left of his rally speech. It is noteworthy that Ray Epps' breach occurs just a minute after the Capitol Police began responding to reports of 2 pipe bombs. That's also interesting too, because A, like they said, the Donald hadn't finished speaking yet at the time that he went in. The Donald had not finished speaking, and the police were going over looking at these pipe bombs that wound up not doing a goddamn thing, and they mysteriously, with all the facial recognition technology that they have out there that they used on this, could not find the guy who dropped the pipe bombs. In spite of the fact they have video of him doing it. While the pipe bombs turned out to be a dud, Ray Epps' breach proved fateful. Today, the official story is told by the New York Times, a former newspaper, the Wall Street Journal, the U.S. Justice Department, all depict that the apparent Ray Epps orchestrated 12:50 p.m. initial breach of the metal barricades as the Big Bang event of the Selfie Fest. In large part, this is hardly an exaggeration. Indeed, it was the 12:50 p.m. breach of the Capitol grounds in conjunction with a handful of suspicious individuals ripping down fencing and signage that set in motion the conditions allowing for 1/6 to turn from a rally into a selfie fest. In this report, we will blow open the network of still unindicted key operators who appear to have been at work either with or around Ray Epps during the initial Capitol ground breach. You, dear reader, will be scandalized, though perhaps unsurprised, to learn that none of these actors covered in the report have received attention in the mainstream press, despite their active and indispensable roles in the events of 1/6. So, and this is a fairly lengthy article, like, barely moving as we get to this point. But it's in-depth. They show where Epps was at the time, where the Capitol was. I've got some other video of the storm. There's where the Trump rally was, which, once again, still speaking at that time. And more video too. So this is definitely article that's worth looking into. Not green check verified. But I'll get that in the chat for you guys if you guys want to go into a little detail. I want to watch a couple of these clips.
All right, noted. Okay, but one more thing.
Yeah, so can we go up there? No?
When we go in,
Are we going to get arrested if we
leave
go
this
up there?
here. You don't need to get
Should you
shot.
arrest us all?
And this one.
Hey, I'm by the speaker, Vince. Where you at? There's no way I could get down there, so I'm going to stay on the sidewalk somewhere and get me a good leverage point on the same right-hand side. See what I can view, man. The grass is wild. You need to say his name.
Hi.
Hello, go ahead.
Oh no, go ahead. I'm waiting for my husband.
Oh, excuse me, mate.
And when they're doing timeline on this too, they point out the fact that the giant main component of the protesters didn't arrive at the Capitol until 50 minutes after the breach opened up the walkway. He had 20 minutes left of his speech, took 30 minutes to walk to the Peace Monument. The giant component arrived at the entrance and saw hundreds of people already inside the Capitol grounds. They would no longer stage their protest back behind the fencing because the breach team, booby trappers, had already hauled most of it away before they got there. The giant component therefore walked all the way up to the Capitol building itself. And I mean, that goes right along with what Stephen said. Now, I don't know if Stephen was in the initial breach or not. I don't know if he was. I had not started following his stream until after the whole thing started. But if I remember correctly, I think he stayed and watched the entire Trump speech. So he was in the crowd that walked in. Walked in, shuffled around, etc. And we did see him shuffle around, those of us who have been paying attention from the beginning. This whole thing reeks of a setup at this point. But that's what we've got from that. And the article is, I put it in the chat for you guys, I'll put it in the Discord, I'll put it on Twitter too. Alright, what else do we have for the day? Several gun rights bills filed before 2022 legislative session. From Devin Pavlou. Alabama lawmakers will be back in Montgomery in less than a month for the 2022 legislative session, and there are already several bills pre-filed by lawmakers, many dealing with gun rights. Concealed carry without a permit. A third of the pre-filed bills deal with the needing to concealed carry permit to carry. Senate Bill 1, sponsored by Gerald Allen, will allow Alabamians to carry or possess a firearm in certain areas. Some of these areas are wildlife management areas and private property. You would still not be able to carry a firearm in police and other law enforcement buildings as well as inside a prison or other detention centers. However, if it is not a violation if someone has a firearm locked in their vehicle at a sheriff's office, that issues permits. Another bill, House Bill 44, covers the same thing as Senate Bill 1 and is sponsored by 39 Republicans, state representatives including the Speaker of the House, Representative Mac McCutcheon. Bills on federal regulation. Not only are politicians looking inward at state laws, but they're also looking out to federal government. Senate Bill 2 and House Bill 7 would both create an Alabama Second Amendment Preservation Act. This act would prohibit state law enforcement from enforcing any federal law. Good. Nullify that just the way you nullified the drug war, so absolutely good. Good on you, Alabama, following Missouri's lead and coming back and doing more. I hope more states jump on board with this. Another detail in the Gavin Newsom saga on his attempt to go get a gun case before the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court opened the door to legal vigilantism in Texas. California will use the same tool to save lives. reiterating what's happening here, California has decided to issue a new law allowing private citizens to go and sue anybody who makes ghost guns, lower receivers, or assault weapons, instead of enforcing the law themselves. Not actually looking to get anything done out of this, just like I said, looking to get this case before the Supreme Court. So they can come back and say, see, you have to have abortion in Texas. This law is unconstitutional because you said my law is unconstitutional. This is an op-ed on this, but we'll read a little bit into it. It's outrageous that the Supreme Court continues to allow Texas to use the threat of civil lawsuit to nullify women's constitutional right to control their own bodies. But if this kind of lawmaking is fair play, then California will at least use this tool to save lives instead of harming them. That's why this month I called on California legislature to send me a bill creating a similar way to take action in those who produce or sell assault weapons and ghost guns. I didn't realize when I started reading this article that this is from the criminal himself, Gavin Newsom himself. Many applauded the move when I announced it, but some have argued that California should not follow Texas down the path of vigilante justice. I understand the concern, but I strongly disagree. No, you Pelosi-controlled fucking cuck. You don't agree. You're just looking for a way to get this in front of the Supreme Court. So, yeah, we went over this last week. This is going to fail, and when it fails spectacularly, we'll cover it in more detail. I got one from the Daily Wire. We're taking our lawsuit against Biden to the Supreme Court. This is from Jeremy Boring. Alright, bad news first. On Friday, the Sixth Circuit of Appeals lifted the stay against the Biden admin's tyrannical vaccine mandate. I won't lie, that's a brutal setback in the fight for bodily autonomy, privacy, and constitutional order. The good news, today the Daily Wire is appealing to the Supreme Court of the United States. What does that mean? We don't know so far. So far, the Supreme Court has avoided every vaccine case that has come their way, but this case is different. At question is whether here isn't whether or not the government has the right to enforce rules on its own employees, it's whether or not unelected bureaucrats at OSHA have the right to coerce businesses into forcing private employees to follow the rules the government never had the right to impose in the first place. Biden himself acknowledged his lack of authority only a few months ago. But lacking authority, and even admitting to lacking authority, never stops Democrats from forcing Americans to comply with their policies. We are confident in our cause. We have the rule of law, administrative and constitutional, on our side. We have the science on our side. We have the best and moral arguments on our side. If the Supreme Court will hear our case, we will win. If they won't, it won't just be a loss for the Daily Wire, but for all Americans. It's hard to claim to be a free country when you can force businesses to force their employees to either violate their own consciences and inject themselves with drugs they do not wish to take, or be discriminated against, or even be fired. At the end of the day, the government has the power to make us all comply, but they do not have the right to make us all comply. That's why we must keep fighting. Sadly, many companies, even companies I admire, have already thrown in the towel. And I get it. If you've exhausted every effort and the fight is lost, the fight is lost. No reason to lose your business too. But we have not exhausted every effort. The fight is not lost, and now is not the time to surrender. There are still 51 days before the freedom-destroying OSHA mandate will be enforced. 51 days to change the course of history. 51 days to fight. So fight. You know I'm personally pro-vaccine, although the Johnson & Johnson vaccine didn't prevent me from getting COVID, and the Moderna didn't prevent my wife from getting it. But the data still maintains that the vaccines dramatically reduce your risk of hospitalization and death, especially if you're in a high-risk demographic. And while that's not what they promised us, not being hospitalized or killed by COVID isn't the worst option, so I'd recommend you get the jab even if you haven't. Or don't. It's really none of my business, especially since the vaccine doesn't prevent infection or transmission. You're free. Act like it. What have I said right from the beginning? When they started doing the coercion measures, I said right from the start, I don't care if you get the vaccine. I might make a joke to you about your cell phone reception. But you have to do what is best for you, your family, and your livelihood. I am not going to get the vaccine. But if you decide that you want to go get it, that is your business. That's between you, your local government, and your employer. And hell, if you can't get a ride and you live somewhere close to here and you need help going to get your vaccine and you really, really want it, you call your old buddy J. Edgar and say, hey, I really want this thing. I feel it's the only way I can keep having a livelihood. But my car is broken. Can you take me to my appointment? And I'll say, sure. The only caveat is you can't force me to go in with you. You can't try to coerce me to go in with you. You're an adult. You're grown up. Make a decision for yourself, for your kids, for your family. Measure it to your level of risk and the level of risk to your livelihood. If you want the thing, get it. So we'll see what happens and where this goes and if this gets up to the Supreme Court. Thank you to Jeremy Boring for that. From The Blaze, Dr. Lena Wen says cloth masks are a little more than facial decorations. A religious talisman, if you will. From Alex Nitzberg. Dr. Lena Wen, who previously served as the president of Planned Parenthood, describes cloth masks as little more than facial decorations and says the U.S. should require people to sport surgical masks in crowded indoor areas. Cloth masks are little more than the facial decorations and should not be considered an acceptable form of face covering. The U.S. should require and distribute medical-grade surgical masks at the taxpayer expense to be worn in crowded indoor spaces, she tweeted. My point isn't that we don't need masks, but rather that we should require masks that are the most effective to prevent disease transmission. Everyone, including children, should be wearing at least a 3-ply surgical mask when indoors and around others of unknown vaccination status, she said in another tweet. Yeah, that's going to be a hard no from me. So, no. And as Marie pointed out, your position as the former president of Planned Parenthood really ups your credentials, doesn't it? This one I wanted to touch on a little bit today, just because I reacted differently than I think a lot of Katie Hill's detractors did. But let's read the article and then we'll look at the Twitter post. And then I think we're going to call it. No, I want to do this Fox News one before we take it. But I think after this one and this one and this one, we're going to call it. We'll do Twitter trending and head out of here for the day because I got to get to work. Former Rep. Katie Hill diagnosed with COVID-19 during pregnancy. From Kenneth Garger over the New York Post. Former Rep. Katie Hill has tested positive for COVID-19 nearly 8 months into her pregnancy. Hill, who resigned from Congress in 2019 amid a highly publicized throuple sex scandal, announced the diagnosis in a Saturday tweet. That is not what she got canned for. It's not the people that she was in the relationship with, the scandalous, multiple-member polygamous relationship with. It's the staffers that she was fucking outside of this relationship, breaching house ethics rules. I am boosted and got COVID, and now I'm quarantined for Christmas while almost 8 months pregnant. And though my symptoms are mild, I really wish I'd canceled my plans for the couple weeks before this, the former lawmaker wrote. Hill revealed in an October interview with Vanity Fair that she and her boyfriend, reporter and writer Alex Thomas, were expecting their first child. She admitted it came as a surprise, having been told that her battle with endometriosis, which left her with one ovary, would mean she would not get pregnant without IVF treatment, which she did not have. My life is clearly disheveled. I don't have a career plan. Planning for having a kid was not there, Hill told the magazine. Okay, no, I'm not going to go down that road. That's not classy. That's crass. I'm not going to go down that road. But it's also something where I'm 34 years old. It was clearly like a miracle baby, she said. Hill resigned after she admitted to being in a throuple relationship with her now ex-husband, Kenneth Eslop, and 22-year-old female campaign staffer. No, you resigned because you were fucking the staff, and it wasn't just the one staffer, violating house ethics rules. And then told the world that you were resigning because your husband leaked some dirty fucking pictures of you. With all that being said, I'm going to take the higher road on this. Ms. Hill, you cannot affect any policy prescription anymore. You're not in Congress. You may run again. But I hope you get well soon, and I hope your pregnancy comes out to term and everything goes out well for you. I really do. I hope you carry your baby to term and have a long and happy 18 years. But that wasn't the common consensus with this, and reading from the New York Post tweet that came with this. I mean, some of them were nice, like Alex Makes Jokes says, only one thing to do, name the baby Omicron, to which I pointed out that the middle name should obviously be Persei. Punished Homo says, wow, she got a cold while she was pregnant. There seems to be a rush to say these people now have COVID, almost like they're trying to shut us down and take over more of the economy. SFPL, then this is where it kind of turns a little bit there too. Which staffer did this to her? The pregnancy, obviously. Uncle Phil tweets, says, if the intern is pregnant too, we get a Hallmark movie. And there was just a lot of bad stuff being thrown at her. Look, especially with the innocent child involved. And we don't know what the child's going to grow up to be. We don't. I hope she has a healthy recovery. I hope she gets well. I hope she delivers baby to term. And I hope, like I said, she has 18 happy, long years with the baby. I really do. Get well soon, Katie Hill. All right. We will skip the rest of these except for this one here because, well, this is 13-year-old J. Edgar's wildest dream. Not necessarily now so much, but 13-year-old J. Edgar is still inside of me, jumping up and down and saying, yes, 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 yes. This is what I've been waiting for. Christina Aguilera poses topless to celebrate 41st birthday on social media from Tyler McCarthy. Because it's empowering or something. I mean, it's not like she's never been topless out there in anything else before. We've all seen the Dirty video. Christina Aguilera celebrated turning 41 by showing her fans she still got it with a steamily topless photo shoot. The beautiful singer took to her social media on Sunday, December 18th, her birthday, to show off a series of images in which she's sporting her usual platinum blonde hair extensions, as well as black leather opera gloves, black sunglasses, and seemingly nothing else. The collection of 5 photos shows the singer topless with her arms, hands, and hair strategically placed, in each one to cover her boobs. Still, the snaps are able to showcase the 41-year-old's killer curves as she celebrates another trip around the sun. Xtina X Lee, she captioned the photos, a nod to her nickname, as well as using Roman numerals to show off her new age. Oh, Xtina 41, that's what it is. Now, not as excited as I probably would have been at 13 because, well, it's mostly plastic at this point. There isn't a lot left on her that's real. Since the photos were posted in the early morning on Sunday, comments have been pouring in wishing the singer a happy birthday and congratulating her on the stunning photo shoot. Yeah, she actually still looks human in this one. Despite the 90s appearing much different to the lives that young entertainers lead these days due to social media, the Lady Marmalade singer recalled her early years were full of successes, childhood trauma, and hardships. She also admitted there were certainly times when her endurance was put to the test. She was working around the clock and her skills were also being compared to that of peers in the industry. So, yeah. It's mostly plastic right now. It's mostly not real, but still. I saw this and I'm like, I gotta cover this one. 13-year-old me would be deserved if I didn't cover this story. All right. And that's all that I have for the news. Let's finish out with the Twitter trending of the day. Let's get over to the Explore page and see what we've got going on. On Tuesday, we read the top 5 trends, excluding Tuesday 5, etc., Tuesday thoughts, this kind of thing, and see what's going on around the world and possibly some of the things that we could be checking out tomorrow. So let's check out trending and let's go. Number 1. Only on Twitter, trending, winter solstice. The winter solstice, which marks the beginning of the astronomical winter in the northern hemisphere, takes place on Tuesday, December 21st. Which means the next time you see the Red Ned Show, or whatever the new title is going to be, because I don't know if I'm going to be continuing with Elaine or not. The next time you see the program will be into winter, which means Season 4 and new intro music, which has been graciously provided by my friend Stephen Ignoramus for Season 4. I'm so happy with the way that turned out, too. I'm going to reach out to him a little bit here through the holidays and see if he's got... I thought he was going to do one more edit on it, but if he's got the final edit, new music, and it sounds fantastic. We previewed it when he was on the Red Ned Show earlier on. It sounds amazing. He went all out at this, and I love watching Stephen Ignoramus write music. He's so into it. He's always so happy about it, and it's just... You see that little glow in the glint in his eyes when he's writing music. He's amazing at it, too. But, as of today, happy winter, folks. Number 2, Jesse Waters. This guy should be fired on the spot, says Dr. Fauci about Fox News entertainer Jesse Waters. Let's see why this is trending. Apparently, Waters told a crowd to ambush Fauci with a kill shot so he doesn't see it coming. Well, I hope he didn't, because that would be a bad thing to say. And I don't like Dr. Fauci, and that would still be a bad thing to say. That would be a very bad thing to say. Jesse Waters, don't make me say bad things about you.
On the subject of divisiveness, Dr. Fauci, I'm not going to play it because, frankly, I think it's dangerous. But Jesse Waters, who is a Fox News entertainer, was giving a speech to a conservative group where he talked about you and suggested to the crowd that they ambush you with what he said was some kind of rhetorical kill shot. That was his exact word. I'm wondering, how much that concerns you when you hear language like that about you and your well-being.
Well, John, that's horrible. I mean, that just is such a reflection of the craziness that goes on in society. The only thing that
Yeah, nobody cares. Let's see if we can actually find what he said. Oh, hold on. How much did this tweet cost the DNC? Okay, so here's actually the speech where he said it.
Now you're going for the kill shot. The kill shot with an ambush, deadly, because he doesn't see it coming. This is when you say, Dr. Fauci, you funded risky research at a sloppy Chinese lab, the same lab that sprung this pandemic on the world.
Are you serious?
You know why people don't trust you, don't you? Boom! He is dead. He is dead. He's done. Now, how you do that?
That's what they're pissed off about?
That's all you need. 30 seconds. Now, you get that footage to us. You get it to Fox. You get it to Human Events. You get it to Breitbart. You get it to Daily Caller. You get it through the Turning Point pipeline. Imagine Tucker Carlson teases out of the A block. Coming up. Brave college student confronts Lord Fauci at dinner. Exclusive footage, right back. Get us that. That's what we want. That changes the whole conversation of the country. I've authorized it. Just make sure it's legal. Or someone...
That's what they're mad about?
Now you're going for the kill shot.
So they selectively edited a clip from Jesse Waters, and now at this point I'm going to go back and look for his entire speech. But that's what they're pissed about? That they told people to go and confront him with details of things that he actually did? Are you kidding me right now? Are you fucking stupid? Are you dumb? This is what they're flipping out about. Jeez. I'm glad that this wasn't what they tried to say in this other video clip here. Yeah, we're gonna put a note on that. And we'll talk about that tomorrow some more. Alright, what else do we have here? Olamide! I don't know what Olamide is, but we're gonna find out. Portable can't thank Olamide enough. See how Olamide has turned that Zazu guy into an overnight star? He didn't sign him, just a small feature helping him push his music and Star is Born. Only thing some other people know is to sing about how nobody liked women, but dem sef no they help woman. So apparently some record producer made a guy into a star. And I don't know who this person is. Those are hate facts, Randy. Penny Tree Christmas. What does this year's Christmas mean to you? My penny tree means the season of love and giving, and members of the Penn community are getting free chicken this Christmas. Download the Penny Tree app now to claim yours. So apparently this is a contest where you can get in and get a free chicken for Christmas. Well, if you like chicken, and you're in Pennsylvania, I'm sure that you have to be somewhere in Pennsylvania for it, but if you're in Pennsylvania and you like chicken, there you go. Go throw your retweet out and get your free Christmas chicken. What are we at? 1, 2, 3, 4. So we will have number 5. I can't read that, so we'll go with number 6. Patches. Good night, I stand Patches. Patches is trending. Fans rejoice as Dream shares pictures of his and our beloved cat Patches. So apparently there's a cat on Twitter that everybody likes to retweet and share. At this point, we're going to get pictures of Patches in a suit before Sapnap. People can dislike whoever they want. Wrong, nobody's allowed to dislike Patches. You want to bet? I'm really not a cat person, so I don't know why Patches is such a big deal. I really don't, but apparently a cat has broken the internet once again. Wow. Well, this is the society we live in at this point. Let's get out of here for the day. Let's finish her up before my soul is completely broken. So, thanks everybody who came by and chatted in the live chat with us today. Thanks everybody who sat back and, was the lurkers, the listeners, the people who were here for the entire thing, the people who weren't here for the entire thing. Looks like I got enough messages in. We can actually go and get some special thank yous out towards the end of the show. On Friday, coming up, that will still be a thing, even though it's the day before. No, it is Christmas Eve. We will still be doing a Christmas Eve show, so definitely come back and hang out with us there. We won't. I hope we don't do a lot of news on Christmas Eve. I think we're going to do a lot of live chat and just some fun stuff here. I'll see if I can get our resident chaplain in here and say a prayer for us too, or maybe I'll do it this time. Maybe I won't burst into flames this time when I do it here. So come back. We'll still be here Christmas Eve and every weekday morning on Contemporary. So we will see you next time. And until then, I'm Jay Edgar, and this is Contemporary. Take care.